6 teens convicted in the beheading of French teacher accused of blasphemy. In a landmark development, a French court has convicted 6 teenagers connected to the chilling 2020 beheading of Samuel Paty, a 47-year-old secondary school teacher. Paty, a history and geography teacher, was murdered and decapitated outside a Paris suburb school on October 16th, 2020, by 18-year-old Abdoullakh Anzorov, a Chechen refugee. The heinous act was in response to Paty showing cartoons depicting the Prophet Muhammad during a class on free expression. The court's recent ruling on December 8th found 5 teenagers aged 14 through 15 at the time of the attack guilty of assisting Anzorov in identifying Paty to his killer. The 6th defendant was convicted of making false accusations related to a classroom debate that triggered outrage against the teacher. The teenagers, who could face prison sentences up to 2.5 years, maintained that they were unaware of the murderer's intent. The trial, conducted behind closed doors to protect the identities of the minors, has reignited discussions in France on topics such as Islamic extremism, anti-Muslim discrimination, and freedom of expression. This verdict follows recent school attacks in France, prompting renewed concerns about the safety of educators. Because just as a reminder, there was another French teacher that was attacked, stabbed, and killed in the past month. Again, by another Islamist attacker. So let me provide a lot of background for people who are not familiar with this case. So in 2020, there was this teacher. His name was Samuel Paty. Like I said, he was geography and history teacher, teaching, I believe the equivalent in America would be like high schoolers. And so there was a situation that happened where there was a female student, and she was 13 years old at the time, and she lied. She created a lie that Samuel Paty was showing pictures of the prophet in class and asked Muslim students to raise their hands and leave the classroom before showing the cartoons, because he was literally having a civics lesson and talking about the Charlie Hebdo attacks. However, this was a lie, because that girl was not in class that day. And she perpetuated this lie to her parents, and her parents then began circulating this lie in their community and circulating calls for violence against him in the community, and in fact in religious centers in the community. And this resulted in this attacker, Abdoullakh Anzorov, who was a Chechen refugee who had been living in France since he was 6 years old, to find out about this man, to go to the school and to talk to some students. He talked to some students, 5 students, and asked them to identify Paty to him, showing pictures. He offered to pay them roughly 350 euros to be identified. And then he went and beheaded Paty in the streets of a Paris suburb, posted photos of it, and was later shortly killed in gun exchange by police. And this was just horrified France, because this Samuel Paty was doing his job as a French educator to teach these French students central tenets and values of the French Republic. He is literally doing the work that we constantly talk about to integrate people into the French national identity. That's what this involves. Teaching these students about you do not have a right to not be offended. And because these children lied on him and then identified him to his murderer. He was beheaded on the sidewalks. I have seen the photos of his beheaded head that his killer posted to the internet. I can never get that image out of my mind. And left his 5-year-old son without a father. Let alone attacked the French psyche as a whole. And so this is like a seminal case in France, right? And we're now finally seeing the prosecutions come down. And I want to be clear that there is also a secondary trial that is going to be happening with the adults that were involved in perpetuating the calls for violence against him. So there's a separate trial for the adults, and that's going to be happening later this year. This was just for the children. And what was interesting was when this case first happened and we knew that there was prosecutions beginning against these minors, when this happened in 2020, me, Armin, and Rivka had all very different opinions about how these minors should be treated under the law. And I don't remember exactly what your position was, Armin, but I remember you feeling substantially more lenient than I did. What is your feelings about what is justice for what these kids did while they were minors? Because their defense is that they didn't know that he was going to kill him. However, the lawyer on behalf of Samuel Paty's son said that they were in conversation with his killer for 2 hours.
Okay, well, I didn't know that back then. And honestly, I might be under the influence of, Islam taking, growing in Europe, and also Gen Z becoming more and more radical and illiberal since then. So I might have a different opinion right now, but it might be because of the emotional reaction that I'm showing to all of this illiberal values taking over. So, and I don't remember exactly what my logic was back then, but right now I'm a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot more aggressive. I feel like, against these kind of values and these type of people spreading. I am a lot more in support of harsher punishment for anything that supports anything that even supports in these ideas just even a little bit. Like, I used to be a lot more pro-immigration than I am right now. I used to be a lot more, lenient when it comes to how to deal with how we have to deal with people, like, and again, in the especially ever since the support, the mass amount of support that people have had for the massacre of Jewish people in Israel, in Europe and North America, I don't know, I have had a major shift in my mindset since then.
Yeah.
So,
and let's be clear, they might be minors at the time, but a court of the Republic found them guilty of making false accusations, slanderous comments for the girl that lied, and the other adolescents were found guilty of taking part in a premeditated criminal conspiracy and helping to prepare an ambush. Those are crimes. Those are serious crimes.
yeah.
And the thing is that I think that the sentence that they were given was woefully inadequate. So the heaviest sentence was given to an adolescent who was formerly given a 6-month prison sentence, although he should be able to serve his time at home while under electronic surveillance. That's the heaviest sentence. The girl who was found guilty of making false accusations and slanderous comments was given a 18-month suspended sentence and put on probation measures for 2 years. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm an American and Americans have a very punitive idea of justice, and I understand that. But I'm like, no, throw the book at them. like this is such a seminal case in the French consciousness that you need to set an example. And again, maybe I'm just being a psycho American and we know how American justice is, but given the fact that there are literally educators still being murdered for doing their job for the sake of Islamist extremism, literally as of 6 weeks ago, this needs to be taken extremely seriously. And And I will never get over the fact that his 5-year-old son has to grow up without a father because his father, again, was doing the job of teaching French citizens about the values that they're supposed to hold as a republic, and he has to know that he can go find images of his father's decapitated head on the sidewalk for the rest of his life.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.